Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Ballston Spa Central School District Board of Education for January 18th, 2023. Can we all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here in person, those watching on the live stream at home. For those of you here, if we have to evacuate the library, the emergency exits are the door leading into the hallway at the front of the library, and behind me on either corner, the doors that lead outside. First off on our agenda, we have our recognition. Dr. Duca.
Thank you very much. We have many people to be recognized here tonight, and we will start with BSNB. As the title sponsor of the Ballston Spa High School robotics team, Ballston Spa National Bank generously donates $6,000 each year to cover the cost of the team's registration for first competition. This consistent donation allows the team to continue to grow, compete, and mentor new teams in the district. Thank you to BSNB for being a valued partner of the Ballston Spa Central School District and supporting our robotics programming. With us this evening is Chris Dowd, President and CEO of BSNB, and Susan N. Slovic, VP of Marketing, along with members of the robotics team. So I'd like them all to come up, please.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Then we'll do a photo.
Yeah.
Take that.
What do you want first?
You can say a few words, then we'll do the photo.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. I'll just say on behalf of all of us at the bank, we're thrilled to be here, to be in a position again to provide support. Truthfully, I guess we're invested in this program. We've been doing it now a number of years. And really why we keep coming back is you do such a good job at developing the engagement of the students. The students' participation is awesome. I know you've expanded and now have it in many grades, so we're super thrilled to be here. So congratulations to you. I'll give a quick shout out to the board too. Just as a business leader in the community, I thank you for your volunteering and the time you dedicate to making the school strong. So, thank you.
If I may, I'd like to say an extra special thanks to Ballston Spa National Bank. I've been on this robotics team since my freshman year, and from the very beginning, I remember starting off the year with meeting representatives from Ballston Spa National Bank coming in to help us out. And honestly, it's been a backbone for me a little bit to know that we have sponsors such as you who will come and support us year after year. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as an additional support for our team and how it's been growing all of us, we put together some pamphlets on how our alumni have been traveling all over the world and all over places and going to great colleges, getting PhDs, everyone's getting 4-year degrees. It's really a lot thanks to your sponsorship that we are able to do this and that everyone is able to use this team to grow. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
None of us would blame you if you
Chris. Chris. Thank you.
Next, we would like to recognize TCT Federal Credit Union, who has been a longstanding partner of the Ballston Spa Central School District, supporting multiple initiatives throughout the years. Most recently, they provided the district with a $2,500 donation to be used towards Scotty's Backpack Program, Sponsor Scholar Program, and toward our community literacy efforts. In addition, they continually look for ways to support our students and staff, as well as recognize educators with their Teacher of the Week community program. We thank TCT for their ongoing support. With us this evening is Jeannie Dickinson, Community Relations Manager.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On behalf of TCT Federal Credit Union, I just want to say we were formed by educators over 60 years ago, and it is our honor to continue to support all things education and community in the Ballston Spa region. We feel that, of course, the nurturing things that we can provide will help make the classroom experience more effective and nurturing for their future. So we appreciate everything that you all have done within the classrooms, for the board, and for the community. So thank you very much. He knows how to get all the good sides, right? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
And so now I'll play the role of Mr. Sunkus, who is unable to join us tonight. He's feeling ill. But we are going to recognize some of our fall athletes tonight. And you know, as a coach for various sports for 20 years and an educator, the first thing that I wanted to point out was that we had 99 students qualified for the Scholar Athlete Award, and with a combined GPA of 95.35. And so we had 11 members from the girls tennis team with a composite GPA of 95.682. We had 7 members from the boys golf team with an average of 95.015. We had 13 members from the boys soccer team with an average of 92.78. We had 14 members from the girls soccer team with an average of 95.361. 7 members from the girls volleyball team with an average of 95.062. 20 members from the football team with an average of 90.437. 20 members from the boys cross country team with a composite GPA average of a 93.716. 12 members from the girls cross country team, composite average 96.828. And finally, 17 members from the girls swim and dive team with a composite average of 97.508. So fantastic accomplishment by those students, sports teams, coaches, parents, families, everyone. Congratulations to all of them. We do have several students who are being recognized for making the Suburban Council All-Star First Team tonight. First up, we have Kara Dashnow from girls soccer. Noah Datka, boys soccer. Aiden Davis, football. Troy Gottman, football. Isaiah Hannon, football. Harriet Healy, girls cross country. Darian and Sonia, football. Isabella Caldi, girls tennis. Tyler Leahy, football. And then recognized as the Grasso Division Offensive Player of the Year, Nico Savini. And finally recognized as the Grasso Division All-Purpose Player of the Year, Blaine Zoller. Congratulations to all our student athletes for fall sports.
Is that it for recognition?
That concludes my portion.
Okay, and I just want to especially send out a special recognition to coaches Harvey Stalters and Gene Stalters. So last night, they coached the wrestling team to the Section 2 Division I Dual Meet Championship. They beat Burnt Hills in the match 34-33. It was an incredible evening and an incredible achievement for the team. And pretty much within the next half hour or so, they are going to be here in our gym having their last dual meet of their coaching careers. So Harvey Stalters was an assistant to Coach Johnson for many years. And I got good information that Harvey has been either assisting or leading our varsity wrestling team for 35 years. So at some point later in the year, we're going to have a recognition for the both of them at a board meeting. But just a special round of applause for the achievements of Coach Harvey Stalters and Gene Stalters. That concludes our recognition. We are now at the time for public comment, our first time. As I always do, I will read our guidance for public comment. The Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, and other interested persons to its meetings. Community involvement at the board meetings is encouraged so that the board can better understand and represent the views of its constituents. Please be aware, however, that information such as individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. Speakers will be called upon individually. When recognized by the board president, will be asked to approach the podium, state your name and residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 2 minutes. Speakers will be notified when the board president, when his or her time has expired. I always ask for you to please try and conclude your remarks when we get to about the 2.5-minute mark. The board and the district staff take public comment very seriously. However, the board will not respond to comments or questions during the public comment period. The board asks the public's cooperation in maintaining a safe and respectful environment. The board president reserves the right to limit individual comments if it is deemed necessary. To achieve this, speakers will please not make slanderous attacks on any group, organization, or individual, a member of the board, an employee of the district, a member of the audience, or a member of the public. They will not use profane, vulgar, threatening, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs. Please don't disrupt the meeting with loud outbursts or other disruptive conduct or behavior, either during the speaker's assigned time or at any other time during the meeting. Speakers will please address their comments to the board as a whole and not to any individual members of either the board or the administration. Speakers understand that a failure to comply with these rules for maintaining a respectful and productive environment may result in early termination of the speaker's allotted time, a denial of future requests to speak, and any other actions deemed necessary by the president of the board, or, where appropriate in the matter of a health and safety measure, the superintendent of schools. And our first speaker is Jim Shear. Please approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Jim Shear. I live in Glenville, New York. My grandson attends the Malta Avenue Elementary School, and I'm a member of New York Informed Saratoga. It seems apparent to many of us that the majority of this board don't have a very good idea of what their roles are in reflecting the views of the community which elected them, based on their continued rejection of simply surveying the community regarding potential future mask and vaccine mandates. There's an abundance of information on the internet regarding what role a school board member entails, and perhaps some of you should do some searches on this topic. If you refuse to survey your community on this issue, how can you possibly know what the community wishes are? At a previous meeting, it was stated that you can't be doing surveys for every little thing. Yet a week later, published in the Daily Gazette, there was a survey of the Ballston Spa community's wishes for a superintendent and what qualities they wanted. Is that going to impact the school district more than vaccine mandates, which may lose you 20 to 25% of your student body? I don't think so. We are asking you again to be proactive on this issue. Proactive is acting in anticipation of future problems, needs, or changes. Or you can continue to choose to be reactive if legislation or regulations are imposed. Reactive is apathetic, passive, submissive, unassertive. Your choice. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, Mr. Louis Nowak.
Hi, my name is Louie Nowak. I live on Brookline Road between Route 50 and 67. January 12th, 2022, February 10th, 2022, April 4th, 2022, May 24th, 2022, September 30th, 2022, 11/2/2022, December 20th, 2022, and January 13th, last Friday. What do these dates have in common? They are dates that people have run by the red light on my bus, on my son's bus. I took this picture that shows doors open, my son and I are standing there, and there goes that car right on through it. People are driving by 45, 50 miles an hour. I can't get that license plate. I've gotten it once. That's 8 times since I've started noting it that I've witnessed this happening. My neighbor has seen it twice this calendar year. Remind you, we are not even to January 20th. So that's 3 times in 1 month on my road. I have called the sheriff every single time. They can't do anything. Don't have a license plate number. I've called the bus garage. They said I need to come here, which is why I'm here. The buses either do not have cameras, and the ones that have been disabled. Cuomo signed a bill that stated that schools could start installing buses in 2019. Yet we are almost 4 years later and we still do not have them. Colony schools have already added them onto theirs, and Bethlehem is in the process of it. So I am asking this board, when is Ballston Spa going to get it so that at least my son can be safe on his bus? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Jason Gertler.
Jason Gertler, 99 Rowland Street. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. We always thank you for the opportunity to come and present public comment at your meetings. Thank you. To touch a little bit on Ms. Nowak's comments, yeah, bus safety is very important. I myself live on a very busy county road. I don't believe that we've had as many incidents. Brookline Road is very busy. A lot of people travel that headed to the Northway in the morning. So yes, please, let's get on that. Our transportation department has really been decimated in the last couple of years. There has been a loss, a very substantial loss of a lot of good employees to other districts, to retirement, to resignation, and trying to recuperate from that has been very difficult, I understand, but let's try to stay out in front of the important issues of safety. Separately, to touch on what Mr. Shearer said, the survey to the community, I just want to run down this list for our community who may not be aware that Burnt Hills, Ballston Lake, Elwood Schools, Farmingdale Schools, Massapequa Schools, East Islip Schools, West Islip Schools, Island Trees Public School, Sachem Public School, Wantagh, Connecticut, Hicksville, Goshen, Longwood, Combahsewogue, West Babylon, Lindenhurst, Eastport South Manor, Oyster Bay East Norwich, William Floyd, Miller Place, Middle Country, and the entire Catholic Diocese schools statewide have written letters to the governor's office, to the Department of Health, to the Education Department, and all of their respective state representatives in the Senate and in the Assembly to advocate against possible vaccine mandate to attend schools and to receive public funding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now, that might not seem like a lot, considering there are 620 districts in our state. Ballston Spa is collectively part of the 31 district group collective, right? 31 in Wishy-Bocies?
In Wishy-Bocies,
Yes.
31 districts.
Yep. And they had no problem sending a letter to the governor last year when it came time to try to figure out what we were going to do with unmasking the kids. So I'm just asking you all to please reconsider issuing a survey to the district. It's what resources? 10 minutes to compose it and 1 second to push click. It's not that much. Please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Aaron Terizzi.
Hi, my name is Erin Terizzi. I reside in Malta. I didn't prepare anything today. I just want to talk a little bit about the parents that come week after week or whenever they can to come up here and speak about concerns that they have for their children. In the past, they have been painted in a very negative light. through an email that went out to all of the community members. And I know we've spoken on that before, but I just want to say I feel like the people that are able to come and that speak at these meetings, they're advocating for their kids, and we are not extremists that are wild and crazy and just, out here to cause trouble. We have legitimate concerns, and they're not being heard or met, so we keep coming back. And we are going to keep fighting for our kids. And I'd like to take a minute to address the younger audience, our student government. They're obviously here because they're interested in government, and I'd kind of like to give them an idea about how this type of government works or doesn't work. We come up here and we speak at these meetings. We get an email in response sometimes, most of the time, but it's a cookie cutter email that, every parent gets the same email, just our name is changed out of it, so no questions are ever answered. And I'm saying this, from personal experience. I was up here speaking in August about the gender policy. I asked several questions over and over and over again in email after email after email, never got one of those questions answered. I was referred to the school principal. I emailed the school principal, still didn't get the answers I was looking for. So that's kind of how this works. We come to these meetings, we pour our hearts out, we advocate for our kids, and we get no answers. And it is frustrating. I let my mom is from Western New York. She came up to visit for Christmas. I let her listen to one of the times that I spoke at a Board of Ed meeting, and she told me I was being too nice. She said I should be harsher, and I said, well, we are professionals, and we are civic, people, and that's not what we're here to do. We're trying to get our point across. So now that you know how the Board of Ed works, I'd also like to talk about bullying. Bullying, we know about bullying in the schools, and it also happens at the adult level, unfortunately. So we have a few members that maybe have strong opinions about things, and we have some members who are willing to really try to make changes and came here to make changes. And unfortunately, adult bullies don't always know that they're being a bully, and sometimes those bullies have more power and kind of take over the decision-making in a government-type process. I feel like that's what happens a lot in this Board of Ed, and that's a sad thing. I want to leave you with one thing. I did want to talk about the mandates. If they do come down to mandates for our children, there will be lawsuits. There is already, I don't know if you guys are aware of the ICANN Foundation. They've already opened that up and said, any state that puts that mandate in place, we will fund those lawsuits, and I will be the first one on the phone for that lawsuit. So I would urge you to put that survey out and find out what your parents feel, because I don't think, even if that does go through, parents are not going to go for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That concludes our first period for public comment. Now we have our student government report, and we have Katie, and we have a substitute, Emily. So welcome. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Student government is hosting speakouts tomorrow during all 3 lunches to hear feedback from students on how we can improve the high school and work together to just make day-to-day life in the high school just better than it already is. We can improve. Looking ahead, we will be planning a student leadership conference where students from each club in the high school will brainstorm ideas and ways the clubs can work together and do other fun team building activities. And we're looking to do that in late March to early April. But other than that, we are all set. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for our student government representatives from the board? No. Well, thank you very much, and as usual, you are excused to get to studying and all of your great student activities. Next up is the approval of minutes. I please have a motion to approve the minutes of December 7th, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any amendments or additions?
Yes, Jason, I do. For this meeting on December 7th, there was one comment, public comment from Mr. Jim Shear. The way it is currently worded is, Mr. Shear stated the governor's regulations were not illegal and constitutional. And I believe the not is just not in the correct place. Should read, were illegal and not constitutional. So I can provide that, my edits here to the, for editing.
Okay. Any other
Yeah,
changes?
I have a couple others. So I don't know if you want to talk about this one specifically or want me to
Does
say them
any
all?
board member have an issue with that amendment?
No.
Next.
Second one was on page 11 for the other new business where we were discussing the walk-in resolution 358. The full text of that resolution just wasn't included in the meeting minutes. So if we can just add that full text of resolution 358.
Any board member have an issue with that?
No.
And the
And
last,
that's referring to the printed version that you had shared with all the board members, right, as compared to what was ended up being noted in the minutes.
yeah, it was the printed one. It's just not, there's no 358 in here at all. So we just wanted to make sure that text is documented in the meeting minutes.
Okay. Any board member have an issue with that amendment?
No.
Okay.
And just a typo, page 13 says Mr. Law discussed FDA approval, Mr. Ryan. So I go by both. There's lots of kids in the neighborhood call me Mr. Law. I'll answer to both, but just for clarity.
Can we just call you Mr. Law?
No one has,
You can call me Mr. Law.
no one has an issue with that. So, all right. So I'm going to re-motion with the proposed changes. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2022 regular meeting with the updates that were just shared by Mr. Ryan?
So moved.
Second.
Any other amendments or additions? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes pass. I have a motion to approve the minutes for the December 21st, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any amendments or additions?
Yes, I have one under the old business. What's currently, and I did provide a copy to all the board members, what's currently listed there, and then an additional sentence I would like added on as an addendum. The original sentence says, Mr. Ryan shared information addressing comments and questions from the last board discussion, and I would like to add the statement, specifically, it is within a Board of Education's responsibility to advocate for or against specific legislative actions as discussed in the New York State School Board Association's position statements for 2023. I know we talked about a lot of different things, but I think this is a high-level summary that I want to make sure it made it into the minutes.
Any concerns or challenges with that? I guess the only thing I would add is maybe, do we want it to say the Board of Education's responsibility to advocate, or one of the Board of Education's responsibilities is to advocate? I just don't know if...
It should be what Mr. Law said, not what
Well, right, but how do we know what Mr. Law said?
we can go to the tape.
Okay. So do we want to table these minutes until the next meeting when we can review the...
You can, but you need to remember that the minutes are a simple summary of the meeting. They are not a per word, transcription. And so summaries are appropriate, but this can be added or not?
I'm okay with adding it. It's one of a board member's duties. It's not the only one.
And would that be a fair summary of your comments at that meeting? Because that's
Yes, it
what we
would.
want to do.
Yes, it would.
Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 21st, 2022 regular meeting with the summary language added here by Mr. Ryan and amended to just share what we just discussed in terms of the characterization of one of the Board of Education's responsibilities?
So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 4th, 2023 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And any amendments or additions? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass for the January 4th, 2023 regular meeting. Next up on our agenda, superintendent's report.
Tonight, we have a overview and update of the MTSS and special education programs. And so tonight we have Sharon D'Agostino, Kathleen Skelly, Chris Jensen, Dr. Dana Sisk, and Alicia Backus presenting to us. So come on up.
And welcome, and we're thrilled to have you. If I may, before we start, please try and remember to stay on mic at
I'm
the
not
podium.
moving. Not
Or
moving tonight.
if you need to move in your presentation, you could take the mic out of the handle and take it with you.
I got home, my husband said to me, "Do you want me to get you a portable mic that you can wear when you do this?" I said, "That might be a grand Valentine's Day present."
We just want to make sure our listeners at home can hear everything you have to
Absolutely.
say.
Of course. Well, welcome, and thanks for having us back. We appreciate that. I'm here with my esteemed colleagues this evening, so I'm going to get us started. If you don't mind clicking for us. Thank you. I'd like to, this is a slide you've seen multiple times. We were asked this evening to present a brief presentation on progress to date with our multi-tiered system of support. The visual representation here highlights the areas in which we work to strengthen student academic success and overall well-being. It's very important to recognize that we work in a really cohesive way. You might hear us talk about the academic side of the triangle and the behavioral side of the triangle when we're talking about programming, but truly they work together in concert to present the best foundation that we can for our students in this district. If you could proceed, thank you. We follow a collaborative review process. As you know, processes and systems help us to perform better. So as we're working through all of the changes and additions, and as we grow in our capacity as a district in the world of MTSS, we look to this, we shared this with you 2-3 years ago now, but we just wanted to bring it to the forefront because it is something that we value tremendously. When we look at the tasks at hand, we look at what professional development needs will our staff, our support staff, anyone working in those capacities need. We implement, and then we review and revisit, and we capture all of that learning in the handbook that gives us this guide to the work that we're doing. So we're always in an improvement cycle. And next, this is a snapshot, and I said to Sharon earlier today, I said, I wish we had a before and after, you know, for those friends from HGTV settings, where were we and where are we now? The green represents areas that we have specifically either at the district level, the building level, or the K-5, 6, 8, 9, 12 level, worked with real intentionality to put into place a high-quality curriculum, strong instructional materials, and standards aligned to the current standards on record in New York State, horizontally aligned and vertically aligned. The areas that you see in process, I just want to draw note to math in specially designed instruction. We're currently working with our 15-to-1 teachers in elevating the level of instruction for those students so that a graduation pathway will always be an opportunity for them, but that requires us to customize and work to meet the needs of the students while elevating the opportunity for having grade level access to information. Social studies has been a work in progress on my list since we started. COVID kind of put it to the side, but we've started working towards that at the K-5 level. So those are under construction, but this is aligned to our strategic plan and that work in progress. I shared with you just a little snapshot. We've been working all this year. The building principal's here tonight as well, Sarah Johnson, and she's been a teammate by my side as we do this work, as well as Chris Jensen and now Alicia Backus. We're working very closely with the 15-to-1 self-contained teachers to support as they customize the Tier 1 curriculum to meet the needs of the student learner so that they can have continued success as they go through our system and reach and achieve graduation pathways, but at the same time addressing the needs of the learner. So that's really specialized work. We have a lot of new staff at the high school. As you're well aware, we have some folks shifting positions. So we've done a reboot with the high school TLST. We have 3 new APs. So we're well in progress there, and we hope to be up and running by February. So I am now going to pass the presentation along to my colleague, Sharon D'Agostino.
Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to talk to you a little bit about the behavioral aspect. We hear an awful lot about the academics, and back in March we did talk a little bit about the behavior aspect, but tonight I just want to give you a little bit of where we are. Our goal is to keep children at the Tier 1 and Tier 2 levels and be proactive and use supportive methods as well. At the elementary level, we currently utilize the Second Step program, and we continue to. This has been in its 3rd year at the elementary. And then also at our secondary level, we use similar topics, but we gear them to the grade level. Topics such as empathy and kindness and gratitude, dealing with pressures and stress management. All of our counselors discuss with students at whole class instruction as well throughout the year. Those class discussions often lead to ways to proactively deal with concerns that potentially could become behavioral issues and then end up interfering with the academic process. We are continually developing ways to help support our parents, our families, and our students. Just in November, our social workers hosted a community resource fair to provide all the community organizations an opportunity to share resources and discuss their programs with our families and our students. Also this month, on January 25th, the Health and Wellness Committee is going to host an evening on mental health at the high school. We've also planned for another meeting in March to provide additional information related to students' well-being. We have partnered with Northern Rivers Mobile Crisis Unit this year, too, to help in aid with suicide and crisis management should the need arise in our K-5 buildings. We've also increased the number of counselors from Northern Rivers and Parsons group from 3 to 5, and these folks help with individual and family counseling. Another support this year is a full-time McKinney-Vento coordinator who helps to secure basic needs for our homeless and our at-risk population. Individuals, small group, and whole groups of students are supported by our 15 counselors, 15 nurses, 10 social workers, teachers, and additional staff who are all working daily to support our students and their families so that our students can be successful within the classroom at the Tiers 1 and 2 levels. Again, as Kathleen has mentioned, we work together with both the academics and the behaviors. Sometimes they intermingle with one another. We utilize our TLST teams within our buildings to help our students and best support students and families. We use community supports, and also those in our day-to-day teachers, counselors, nurses, and so forth. And now I'm going to pass this on to Christy Jensen, our interim Director of Special Education.
So one of the things that in special education, all of our work is really through this lens, that we think of our special education students like all other students, and with that, they have the right or they're entitled to equitably participate in the schools in the district, have access to high-quality instruction, which of course includes, education, which includes instruction, and lastly, the opportunity to achieve what's required for a meaningful diploma and just improve or increase the opportunities at the post-secondary level. So with that lens in mind, about 4 years ago, I think, we underwent a program review, the whole department, from our kindergarten classes through our 21-year-olds at the high school. We looked at specifically our program in terms of what we were doing well, what we needed to improve upon, what we might be missing, even to the level of bringing in a consultant that made recommendations. And one of the biggest areas to help us reach our goals or objectives that I've shown you is that we needed to have a more robust continuum. And what that means, just very quickly in special education, we are dictated by Part 200s at New York State. So there are programs that are available to students with certain amounts of time in the classroom or minutes of instruction that they have a right to. So over the past few years, we've made some major changes, and the two assistant directors, who I'd like to introduce in a moment, will take you through some of the changes. But the biggest one, I think, at the elementary is our transition in terms of delivery instruction from an integrated co-teaching model to a direct consultant teacher model. If you were to walk by a classroom that was a DCT or an ICT, they're going to look very similar to you as a passerby. The majority of our students with IEPs, individual educational plans, have their needs met in the least restrictive environment. So that's the classroom. And both of these models are similar in that you have a general education teacher, the classroom teacher, and you have a special education teacher in the room assisting and helping with the students. So we can really offer a variety of strategies that you might not be able to do as a regular classroom teacher. The big difference in going to DCT is really to create the flexibility within the model for the other services should a student need it. For example, the flexibility exists where ICT is a standalone service. It has a certain amount of minutes to it. DCT can include things like resource or special classes for reading or something like that when students need the additional time in their day to work on skills where they're most deficient and most in need. So that's a subtle difference, but it allows us as a school district to, I think, provide even more opportunities for our students. And you know, as you heard from Kathleen Skelly and Sharon D'Agostino, most of our kids, all of our kids, are really able to access what every other student in the district does in terms of our MTSS model and the things that are going on in the district. So I think that's incredibly positive, and this is just one more example of that. At the secondary level, we've also been working on building out the continuum, and that looks a little different because we had components of integrated co-teaching, and we had 15-to-1 in certain places, but I'll let both of these people give you more information on that, but we've built it out. So I think from the time a student enters the building as a kindergartner until they leave at whatever age that is, 18 or 19 or 20 or 21, they have opportunities that really didn't exist 3 years ago. So with that said, I'd like to just take a moment, if I may, because we are a relatively new team. Dana Sisk started in July, and she is the assistant director at the secondary level. Alicia Backus. She started with us about 3 weeks ago, and she hasn't run away yet. She comes to us from the Schenectady City School District, where she was a social worker, and she actually had many hats, but she also served as a McKinney-Vento liaison. So with our new team, we're very enthusiastic and ready to continue the good work. So I will, with that said, look to Alicia. We're only letting her do one slide tonight because she is so new, and we don't want to scare her away, but Alicia will take you through that.
Hi, everyone. So, as Chris was stating, with the direct consult teacher model, that is for this school year we have, and then we also have it for next school year, which allows more opportunity for resource-related services. There hasn't been a change in the special class reading. It is still available for grades 2 through 5. And our special class is a 15-1-1, which there hasn't been any changes with. Our behavior management, we have a 6-1-2 and an 8-1-2 in our elementary school, and that is for our students that are in K through 5. And our New York State ALT Assess programs, we have 2 of them, and there hasn't been any changes there. We also have the resource that is available in grades 2 through 5, and then the direct consult teaching where we can add that math resource was not available last school year, but this school year we do have it, and we will have it for next school year. Thank you.
Good evening. So I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to you about the continuum of services at the secondary level. I've broken it up into the middle and high school because there are some variations. So the areas in green are the areas where the continuum was expanded either last year, this year, or is going to be next year. Thanks to the work that Dr. Duca has done the past few years with special ed, our continuum has really expanded. Especially at the middle school. Our teachers are extremely excited, especially in 6th grade, now that we have some of the services for our students coming up from 5th grade that we were able to expand upon that we may not have had previously. So with ICT, our integrated co-teaching, ELA, math, and science have been consistent. Those have been offered through grades 6 through 8. ICT social studies, we implemented that for grades 6 and 7 last year, added grade 8 this year, and that will continue as the full continuum now next year. Our 15-1 special class is where we did see some significant change, or we are seeing some significant changes. ELA and math have had the 15-1 classrooms consistently for grades 6 through 8. Last year for social studies and science, we did not have 15-1. This year, it was added for grades 6 and 7, and then next year it'll be added for grade 8. So we will have the full continuum of services for ICT and our special class 15-1 for all of our middle school students that need that support. Our behavior management and our alt assess classes have been consistently 6 through 8. And then our other services. So we've consistently had the academic resource for grades 6 through 8. Last year, we added grades 7 through 8 for Resource Connections. This year, we added grade 6. Resource Connections differs from our academic resource in that Connections focuses on the social emotional skills needed by students that we have that are diagnosed with autism. We have a counselor that pushes in to the group and works with the students, so that's specifically designed to help them build their social emotional capacity. At the high school, it looks much the same. There's a little bit more green spread out. So for the ICT and ELA, we transitioned from 9 to 11 this year to adding, from having ICT in grades 9 through 11 last year, we added grade 12 this year. So now we have an ICT course, an ICT English 12 class available for our seniors as well. In math, there's a little asterisk next to that just because the new math course that was added, that's ICT, can be taken in grades 10 or 11. Just depends on the student's path through the math courses. But we added an ICT math component. Science for ICT, we have 9 through 10 for grades 9 and 10, and then social studies, last year was grades 9 through 11. This year we have 9 through 11. Next year we're adding grade 12, so we will have ICT components for economics and government. So we're really looking at the courses where we have graduation requirements to make sure that we're providing support for our students so that they can be successful. In the special class 15-1, for ELA, we have that grades 9 through 11, math 9 through 10, social studies 9 through 11, and science In yellow and asterisk, we are currently exploring options to expand the 15-1 continuum in science. The one thing that we really have to consider there is certification requirements, so that's currently what we're looking at now to determine if we can put a program in place to expand our science continuum in the special class 15-1. Our behavior management class previously was an 8-1-2, that's been expanded to a 12-1-2. And then our alt assessed 12-1-1 and 15-1 for grades 9 through 12 plus. And then our resource connections and resource programs are all still in place for grades 9 through 12. So this is really exciting because we can look at the full continuum and know that as we expand, we are providing more services for our students. Obviously, our goal is always to help them build capacity, to have decreases in service. But this way, we at least have what they need for as long as they need to have it so that they can be successful while they're here in Ballston Spa. We've also taken a look at some of the trends in how our students and our classification rates and students with IEPs, what the percentages have looked like since January 2020 until now. We picked January just because we're in January, so it was a point that we could chart. At Gordon Creek, you'll see from 2020 to 2023, there's been about an 8% decrease in the number of students in Gordon Creek solely with an IEP classification. And I'll kind of loop this all together when I'm done with all the elementary schools. Malta Ave, you'll see, went from 8% to 15 to 18 and now is back down to 15. For Milton Terrace, started at 18 and then kind of leveled out at 13 and 14. And then at Wood Road, we've seen a 3% decrease from 25% to 22. So one of the things that impacted the number of students at our elementary schools and the percentages is with the addition of different supports for the continuum of services, that allowed our students to be more distributed through all the 4 elementary buildings. So the next slide actually looks at all elementary combined, because looking at them one at a time gives you a picture of what is actually occurring in that school. But overall, through our 4 elementary schools, we are seeing a steady decline from January 2020 until today of about 3%. So even though those numbers for each school are kind of all over the place, our combined percentage of classifications of students with IEPs has actually decreased over the past 3 years. At the middle school, from January 2020 to now, there's been about a 2% increase from 16 to 18%. And then we're also looking at the same, kind of the same at the high school, where it was 17, 16, and 18, up to 18%. One other thing that I did want to point out, too, now that we have a more robust continuum, we've been meeting with the 5th grade teams and the middle school teams to help make sure that we're providing a solid continuum and a seamless continuum for our students coming from 5th to 6th grade. And that's been really great, and I think that's going to help us ensure that we are providing the full continuum of supports for our students so that they can be successful, especially in their transition from elementary to middle school. Thank you for your time. I'm going to turn it back over to Chris.
So I have the luxury of talking about this slide where we are seeing a decrease in the number of students with IEPs, which it may not seem like a lot, but we were really, we were headed on an upward trajectory, and if we didn't really address our continuum challenges, we would probably be looking at somewhere between 23 and 25% of our population with IEPs. So this is, to me, a very dramatic change for the better. And just lastly, if I can summarize, and it is through the work of all of us, including the other directors, that I would say the biggest differences, accomplishments over the last 3 years is we can really say that we're offering a higher quality of Tier 1 instruction, so in the classroom with supports. An improvement in how we monitor our students, all students, not just our special education students, and with real targeted intervention so we can be specific in trying to help each and every one of them. And of course, the decrease in the overall number of special ed students with disabilities. So thank you. And with that, if there are any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions from the board?
I did have one question that was for Ms. Sisk. When you're talking about the middle school, and it was last year he had science, It was not applicable. So does that mean there was no science instruction last year for the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and we've now added that for this year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, so we previously did not have the 15-1 special class in those 2 areas,
Okay.
and now we do. And next year, we'll have the full continuum up through 8th grade.
Okay, great, thank you.
And in the same vein, the high school slide right after it, what's happening in math?
So in math, we have, we already have an ICT algebra class for our students coming from the middle school into the high school. We expanded that continuum to add an ICT applied geometry, so that students aren't going right from an ICT class in 9th grade to no service in either 10th or 11th grade. The reason it's an asterisk is because it depends on the path the students take. So sometimes they might take that applied geometry class in their sophomore year. Sometimes they might take it in their junior year, depending on what their mathematical path looks like when they get to the high school. So that was a new addition for this year, to have that ICT model expanded past 9th grade.
And then the plan for next year?
Well, I'll just add, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
we wanted to focus on the senior courses that everyone takes. So everyone takes an English course their 12th grade year and a social studies. So for the ICT, we wanted to expand to 12th grade in social studies because all students will take semester courses of government or economics.
The NA was a typo on my part, so I thank you for catching that.
It,
I
it
will
just,
fix
just
it.
appears like there will be no
Yeah, no,
ICT.
my apologies.
That's why
I'm just realizing what your question was. So, no, the 9 through 11 will continue beyond. That was probably a copy and paste error on my part, so my apologies for any confusion with that.
I have a question for you as well. Can you just expand on what you meant by, under science, I lost my train of thought. The certifications.
Right,
Yes.
so in order to teach, so right now we have, so if I use math for an example, we have special education teachers that have math backgrounds that can teach the 15-1 with all the new regulations. There was the whole grandfathering if you've taught it for a certain number of years. The difference with science is because of the lab. It has to be a teacher that is not only special ed, but also a teacher that is certified to teach biology. So I'm using that as an example. So that's where, we are currently exploring, we have some new staff. We're just looking at different options that we might have to expand. Right now, we have an applied physical science that our freshmen are taking, and we're looking to expand that continuum for it to be a course that will culminate in a Regents exam to provide the kids that extra support.
Yeah. Sharon, I think you were talking about the McKinney-Vento. Who's our school's liaison for that?
It's Deb Dugan.
Who's that?
Deborah Dugan.
Thank you.
And you can be reached through myself, through my office, or her directly.
Also, just to expand on McKinney-Vento, where are we with percentage of homelessness? Are we up or down compared to the last couple of
Currently this week, the numbers are at 92. That is a little bit higher than, say, even December, a month ago. It fluctuates so very much on a daily basis. We get phone calls from a number of students and really trying to figure out how we can support them best. Sometimes a family is, it's like the night before that they are evicted or have to leave for whatever reason. And then we are trying to support them, find a different alternative location for them through Captain or some of our community or organizations. Dr. Duca and I also attend a Saratoga coalition with many of these groups that help our McKinney-Vento folks, but also all of our students when they're in need. Sorry, I forgot. But really, what ends up happening sometimes is on a particular day, we can get one or a whole family or 5 students that need to be placed in a different school because of family circumstances. But however, they are able to stay here at Ballston Spa and we do have to bus them. So that's a whole nother level of and we really have to do that. I mean, that's a New York State law, so we do have to provide for the busing and allow students to remain here if that's what they choose.
What's the time frame? So when they're placed at a motel outside of the Ballston School District, how quickly can the school district pick them up from a motel to back to school here? Does it take days? Does it take, I mean, what's
Well, I mean, it does depend on each individual circumstance, but to be perfectly honest with you, we have transported students sometimes where we get a phone call and we are transporting them that afternoon to a different hotel.
Okay,
And it
right.
could be in Schenectady or Troy or Amsterdam.
Yep.
So we work very closely with the bus garage, and they make incredible things happen, and so does our office, so that we can make sure that students are transported. You know, honestly, in this past month, really since December, I can say there have been days where, honestly, Deb and I are sitting there saying, okay, which hotel is that student going to? You know, from morning drop-off to afternoon.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the board? Thank you so much for your updates. Sounds like we're having wonderful progress. Please give our thanks to all the teachers and aides involved. Anything more for the superintendent's report?
That concludes the report.
Okay, committee reports. Policy committee?
We had a policy committee today at 6 p.m. in room 200. For old business, we have updated the website, and it is completely updated with all outdated policies as of now. And we also talked about the wellness policy, specifically classroom parties and celebrations. We have, we would like to take this to the wellness committee and ask them to come up with a list of 20 to 25 food items that are allergen friendly, that teachers can have brought in from home for celebrations and parties in the classroom, instead of the very strict absolutely no food from outside sources where you can only buy from the school vendor. And we are hoping to have this policy updated with the procedure of the list by the April 5th meeting for a first reading. We also talked about the code of conduct, which we have incorporated the Crown Act language, which is the law to incorporate that. And that is going to go out for us to read for the 28-day read at the February 8th meeting. It is a 41-page document, and as a reminder, anything in blue is new added language, and I will be sending out, after the 8th meeting, I will be sending out an email to the board members with the pages for you to see the changes. Okay, so instead of scrolling through 41 pages, you can simply scroll to page 11 to see the updates. Okay. And our next meeting is March 15th. And that's everything. Any questions?
My understanding was that some of the changes in the wellness policy related to the classroom parties and celebrations were implemented in COVID days.
Yes, so that document.
And so now this is
right.
revisiting some things
Yes.
that were put in at the time of the COVID
Right.
onset. And so it's time to revisit and reevaluate that. And it sounds like we want to partner, we are partnering, we should partner with the district wellness committee.
Yes.
Perfect. Any other questions, comments on the committee report? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence to the district.
District received 1 phone call regarding a student matter and 4 emails, 3 regarding student matters, 1 regarding test scores.
And Correspondence to the board since the last meeting. We received 5 emails. One email with a student matter, one email requesting materials, PowerPoint presentation from the last meeting. There was an email that was sharing correspondence from other districts regarding COVID-19 vaccine or mask mandates, and an email regarding the cars passing school buses with their red lights on concern. Announcements. Mr. Williams.
Just a couple things tonight. Next week, you heard reference, I believe, earlier to the parent night that's going to be hosted next week here in the high school library. It's entitled No One Walks Alone. It's going to be an evening program for parents that's focused on an open discussion about depression, mental illness, and suicide, as well as how to speak with the youth in our school community. They are going to provide child care for younger students as well as have light refreshments available. So again, that's next Wednesday, January 25th here at 6:30 in the high school library. The district itself is going to be providing free breakfast and lunches coming up for the next 6 weeks for students in the district, basically to showcase some of the food that we have in the cafeteria and the offerings that they have available. So it's going to be a series of Mondays, 6 Mondays and 3 for breakfasts and then 3 for lunches as well. So we'll be putting those dates out and sending that information out this week, so you'll see more about that. And finally, the high school science department will be hosting the Capital Region Science Olympiad Tournament here in the building again on February 4th. Right now they have at least 20 different teams coming from 15 different schools. So if you want to see our students in action, both hosting it as well as participating in a Science Olympiad tournament, you're welcome to come over. It's a Saturday program on the 4th. The best time of day, they said, is between 11:45 and 1:45. So if you want to come by, they'll be in the cafeteria doing a variety of different related challenges that they do as part of the Science Olympiad tournament. So again, that's February 4th. So that'll be coming up very quickly right before your next meeting's on February 8th. And just finally to mention, the high school itself will have Regents testing days next week. So there's 4 days where the school will be in testing mode and the students all won't be here at the same time, but the ones that need to be here will be here for their testing. So that's it.
Just to clarify, the initiative for the free breakfast and lunches, that was just specific days over a 6-week period?
Right,
not,
yes.
Not every day in the 6-week period.
Right. It's if you want to know, January 23rd and 30th, February 6th, 13th, 27th, and March 6th are the Mondays for breakfasts. And then for lunch, it's January 23rd, February 6th, and the 27th.
Okay.
But again, we'll get this all on the
Right.
website
There'll be
tomorrow.
reminders
and it'll
for
be sent out.
parents. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any other announcements? Old business. Do we have any old business? New business. I have a motion to approve resolution number 390, acceptance of donation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 390 passes. Thank you to all who participated for the middle school and the box tops program. I have a motion to approve resolution number 391, acceptance of donation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 391 passes. Thank you to Hannaford Helps donation for Milton Terrace. I have a motion to approve resolution number 392, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 392 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 393, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 393 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 394, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 394 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 395, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 395 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 396, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 396 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 397, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 397 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 398, placement of students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 398 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 399, placement of preschool students with disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 399 passes. I have a motion to approve resolutions number 400 through 410. I'm sorry. Let me state first. Resolutions number 400 through 410 are recognized as a consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, resolutions number 400 through 410.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Consent agenda, resolutions 400 through 410 pass. Any other new business?
Go ahead, Tim.
Technology first.
Yes, I actually kind of coincidental to a public comment earlier today about school buses and the stop arm cameras. Just a little background for the board. Just wanted to give them some information from how I became aware of this and where we are today. Definitely reading some emails from last spring, and I attended the Drive a School Bus event in May. And I was shocked to learn that we have some buses with cameras that can record. We're just not legally allowed to turn them on. And it stems from a New York State law, and the law basically puts some restrictions on signage in the towns that the buses are used, such that without the signs, you can't turn it on. So my goal of this is not to issue a ticket and a subpoena to someone. It's so that the SRO officer can go to the house where the car is registered to have a conversation about what's transpired. I was very pleased in Albany County to hear that, starting with South Colony and now expanded to Bethlehem, they had this program. So back in the summertime, I talked with former Superintendent Mr. Slentz about what can we do about this, and that's where he pointed me in the direction of the law and the signage and why we're kind of not able to do that. So then come this fall, we have the agreement, and it turns out, and I appreciate Mr. Duca, Dr. Duca doing some research for me on this topic as to, okay, well, why is this happening in Albany County and starting with South Colony? And it turns out it's at a county level, so the county has to approve this agreement with this company, for-profit, Stop Arm, and they split the proceeds of tickets being given out, but the company puts the equipment on the buses and then is able to provide basically a video to the person who registered the car. Here's what happened. And the recidivism rate of people who do this a second time is very, very low, because once they're aware of the real rules. You've got a 4-lane highway, even if you're across there, you got to stop, right? It's more of an education thing. So this is something that like I said, coincidentally this week, talking with Dr. Duca about how do we bring this up to the board's awareness, what can we do as next steps to either foster it within the superintendent meetings across the districts, to advocate for the Saratoga County level to do a similar thing with the stop arm, or is it from a legislature thing where we change the law so that we don't have to put up all these signs that literally say every roadway into a district needs to have a sign, which is just poorly written, in my opinion, and I'm being kind in that regard. So I felt this was obviously an opportunity to make my thoughts to the board aware of what I would like us to take further action in the near future. What can we do with Saratoga County? What can we do with our representatives at the state and assembly level? So, and I know Dr. Duke, you said you have some additional research that you want to do, so we'll continue on with that. But this is no real resolution recommended right now, but I just wanted to have this discussion.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Any other comments on that particular topic Mr. Ryan just raised?
I just wanted to comment that Law and I had a conversation, and I didn't realize what some stipulations were. So I do think it's worth further exploring how we could advocate to either change the laws, get signage, or work with an outside vendor. Thank you for doing that research, Law. I didn't realize there was a vendor that might be able to assist us in this effort.
So just to clarify, you are saying that the county has to put the signs?
Two different avenues. One is, Mr. Slentz said at the time that this law went through, which was I think 4 years ago, we had to go to the towns, and we've got 4 towns in our district.
Right.
And each of those towns' responsibility would be to put up signage saying, hey, school buses have the ability to take video, please be warned, similar to, red light cameras in other areas of the district, of the capital district. But the way the law is written, and this was based on council advice, that it's written that every road, so think of every road that comes into the district, hundreds, right? Every road needs a sign. To the point of the local towns wouldn't have either the money and or things, or there'd be signs everywhere, right? And do we want that, right? So now the great research that Dr. Duca did for South Colony is somehow Albany County got around whatever legalities need to be happening with this to say, okay, we've got an agreement at the county level. They must have passed something. We'd have to figure out exactly what that is. And then an agreement with this stop arm company who then installs, and I think it's a 60-40 split. Stop arm gets the fine money. County gets some of it. School district gets nothing, and I'm not asking for anything. I just want the conversation to happen with the owner to say, please stop, going through the obvious red light stop arm.
This is the first I'm hearing about this, but my thought would be is, wouldn't the issue be brought in front of the Board of Supervisors at the county level?
Right. So when this came up 4 years ago, the district did look into what was involved. I think as law is stating, the fine print involved with this is incredible. There's the law related to the stop arm cameras themselves. There's then all the applicable town and signage laws, et cetera, and I think the bottom line is that it sounds like Albany County and a couple of school districts have figured it out. So probably our best avenue is finding out, how did they figure it out and get there, and then see if that's something we can replicate here, and then figure out, who do we need to speak with to try and see if something can be done with that. And I think, that would absolutely be in partnership with administration and Dr. Duca and the other school districts and what they may be deciding to do, et cetera. So I think it's absolutely great that we're raising it, and it would be great if we could have another additional way to enforce safety for our students getting on and off buses. And I just think that, again, there's a lot of fine print here, so we need to make sure we understand the best way to go forward.
Brian, sorry. I was just going to ask a question of Brian. How many of our buses are equipped?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have an update as we do more research together.
Perfect. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Turbia?
Yes, so tonight I would like to open the discussion surrounding potential legislation in Albany with regards to universal free school meals. At the end of last June, a federal program which made it possible for all students to obtain free meals throughout the day expired. This program, enacted during the height of the COVID pandemic and made available to all, no matter their family's income, was a huge help to families who would otherwise struggle with the means on how their children would get the required nutrition they need. A couple of states stepped up and instituted their own universal free school meal program. However, at this time, the state of New York has failed to act. There are presently 2 bills, one from Senate and one from Assembly, sitting in committee from last year. Recently, there was a rally at the Capitol calling for Governor Hochul to include money in the upcoming budget for these meals. Tonight, I call on my fellow board members to join the growing number of people who are advocating for the institution of this program. When you look at the benefits of universal free school meals, the decision to advocate for the program appears to be a no-brainer. The health of students improves, especially their mental well-being, as does their academic performance. The stigma surrounding receiving free school meals through the existing program disappears. The burden on many families on how they will budget to feed their children throughout the day, especially as food prices continue to rise, can be eased. There can even be a small benefit to the district financially, eliminating unpaid school meal debt and obtaining larger bulk discounts. According to numbers from Feeding America, 1 in 7 children in New York experiences hunger. When these children go hungry, they struggle to focus on their day-to-day responsibilities. They statistically have lower attendance than their peers. When faced with this obstacle, it is that much more difficult for these students to obtain a meaningful diploma. As members of the Board of Education, we are tasked with overseeing the district and ensuring they are providing the best environment for all students. We do this through the motions we pass, the budget we approve, and the policies we write and revise. We can also achieve this by pushing our legislators to take the appropriate actions in Albany. Tonight, I'm not looking to adopt a resolution or ask for any steps to be taken at this time. I simply ask for your consideration on the matter. It is my strong opinion that we as a board should do what we can to ensure this program comes to life. Be it the will of the board, I hope you will agree with me. Thank you for listening and for your consideration.
Thank you. Any comment on statement? Okay. Any other new business? It's now the time in our evening for public comment, second public comment period. Same guidance applies as I read before the first public comment period. First up, Jim Shear.
Thank you again. I know in the MTSS slide under behavior, it was encouraging proactive behavior for students and teachers. If only the board would do the same. In regard to the 21 letters that were written to Governor Hochul, referenced by my colleague back there, Jason, there was a common theme, and you all got those letters. You referenced the correspondence. I think that was from me. 21 letters. Everybody got them. I don't know if everybody read them all. Hopefully you did. There was a common theme. 1, no schools saw a rise in COVID cases since the masking requirements were lifted. Number 2, all schools were opposed to adding the COVID-19 vaccine to the childhood vaccine schedule. It's still under emergency youth authorization. And on August 22nd, the CDC said the vax doesn't stop infection or transmission, yet they recommended it be put on the childhood schedule. Doesn't make any sense. There's no logic behind that. And number 3, all schools want local control of mask and vaccine mandates. They all want choice, not mandates. Most of the letters indicated that with the return to school and no masks and no vaccine mandates, that they saw a great increase in morale in their students. In-person learning was, very beneficial after being closed out. And on a separate subject, just to show you what you're up against, we went to the January 10th rally last Tuesday. Governor Hochul closed the Capitol to the public just after 9 a.m. with no explanation. That's our place. That's our Capitol. Nobody could go in. Last year she pulled, you had to have a vaccine passport. This year, you just couldn't go. We lobbied in the Legislative Office Building after the rally. There was one assemblyman, Dinowitz. There was a bunch of angry women outside his office. You had to make an appointment. You had to wear a mask. You had to have proof of vaccination. And you had to meet him outside his office somewhere else. These people were angry. These were his constituents. And the last thing was, you should all be aware that the containment camp regulation was shot down July 13th, 22 by a New York Supreme Court judge on Long Island. He said it was illegal, it was violating in SAPA and all kinds of things. They had a 6-month window for notice of appeal. They filed a notice of appeal, but they didn't file an appeal. That time frame expired January 13th. Her and the Attorney General are now appealing to the Court of Appeals to reinstate their ability to appeal. The time frame has passed. She doesn't understand the legislative branch is separate from the executive branch. So
You could conclude, please.
be careful, but be proactive. Please be proactive, as your MTSS slide said. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Shannon Rashute.
Good evening. I'll be short and quick, I promise, because I know it's getting late. We all want to get home. 2 weeks ago I came and I brought up some very touching subjects, some material that we have allowed our children in school to have access to, and I've yet to receive an email in regards to that, but that's okay, because I'll come here and I'll address you again why you think that it's okay for our children to have access to this material, and why I was directed towards superintendent when he's right here, and I was hoping that something that important he would speak up for us, for our children, but you failed. Just like the board has failed us. Just like you put numbers on the screen and we're supposed to believe those numbers. But what you fail to realize that we have all done our homework, and the numbers have declined because students have moved out of the districts or they're being homeschooled. So that's, the numbers are going to fluctuate with that. And you fail to put that on there. Just looking for another reason why we have access to these books and why it was not addressed. So I'd be looking for that email, and you're up next year, and we won't vote for you.
Thank you for your comments. Jason Gertler?
Good evening. Thank you again. Jason Gertler, 99 Rollins Street. So tonight I would like to wrap up regarding the curriculum presentation from the last meeting. So, well, I hope that you would appreciate to be presented with raw data, not manipulated data to make it look good. As an example, more than half of Ballston Spa grades 3 through 8 tested as struggling readers in 2021. According to online New York State education data, ELA test details were 1,600 total were tested, 86% of our student population in 3 through 8, with 681 being proficient. That's 43%. 43% proficiency is, well, it's less than half. It's terrific, to be honest. 647 schools in New York State, and Ballston Spa is ranked 313th for ELA in that slot. 49% proficiency in math. These are 2021 scores, and ironically, she said that the test was modified that year, so it's not comparable. It wasn't. Last year was the last year of Common Core standards, so it's the same test. Last year's scores, 2022, have not been released, so if she has them for some reason, you have a right to see them, the raw data. This year's test, however, will be different, so really the 2022 scores are the last comparative year, and the reason so many parents want to see them. This year, the tests are based off of the, quote, next generation standards, as I believe she had mentioned. And we rank the worst out of all the schools around us. Ballston Spa ranks 313th out of 647. Stillwater is 227th. Galway, 211th. Burnt Hills, Ballston Lake, 95th. Saratoga, 77th. And Shenandoah, 51st. And for iReady, she presented growth data, not performance data. This is a trick of the eye to show great gains. I know this because performance data only has 3 levels: on grade level, below grade level, and above grade level. She showed this graph and said, wow, look, we have 89% proficiency. Straight lies. Growth data has all these levels, and what that means is that students grew from where they were. Although it's good to see that they're growing, this happens naturally as they age in a large percentage. She compared this to the previous 50%. That's the benchmark, which compared students to other students, so that data number isn't to be used comparatively. All administrators know growth data is not what you use to talk about proficiency. So I say to the curriculum director, please be honest and make a plan to address it, not to cover it up. As the board, I believe you deserve to hear the truth. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That concludes our second public comment period. Do you have anyone from our associations here for comment? PTA updates?
Yes, I have some information from the high school PTSA. Next week is the high school staff appreciation luncheon on Friday, January 27th at 11:30 a.m. Messages have gone out, and the PTSA is asking those to consider donating their time, money, or gifts to thank the amazing group of people that are with our students each day. In addition, after prom 2023 information has begun to circulate. First committee and volunteer meeting is on February 1st at 7 p.m. in room 216. Look out for announcements with more information on that. And their next meeting is coming up this Tuesday, January 24th at 7 p.m., also in room 216.
Thank you. From the Ed Foundation? Or, I'm sorry, from
The
PAAC?
Yes, Bark from the Ballston Area Rec Commission.
basketball started, and they're enjoying using all of our basketball courts. Specifically commented on the renovations at Malta Ave, so just wanted to recognize that they're very happy with the facilities.
So that concludes our agenda. We do have reason to go into executive session. We will not be returning to open session from the executive session, and our next board meeting is on February 8th. I'm going to get the motion. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment of particular persons and